We launched Epic Games Store 4 years ago as a marketplace committed to giving every developer a fair deal with 88/12 revenue share. That means that you get to keep 88% of what you sell on the store. The Epic Games Store has grown tremendously since launch, and today we are the second largest PC app marketplace with 230 million PC users. The store now has over 68 million monthly active users, up 10% year over year. Total user spending was $820 million last year, down 2% from the previous year. This decline happened because Epic Games' first-party titles were down on PC. Despite this, we are really happy about our partners seeing increased growth in spending in their games, which was up 18% year over year to $355 million. The Epic Games Store free games program has been a big part of our success strategy. Through the program, we connect players with awesome games from developers on a massive scale. Why do we do this? Well, because players love it. It exposes them to new titles and helps sell more of your games. Roughly 30% of users coming through the free games program start spending money on PC games. There are other great benefits on launching on Epic Games Store. If your game is made in Unreal Engine, your engine royalties are waived on all payments processed by Epic Games. IARC Ratings is a free optional service we just launched for Epic Games Store. It helps partners obtain age ratings in many regions, including the United States, European Union, Korea, Japan, and others. Age ratings help users and parents make informed decisions, and this new service makes it easy. We've seen huge demand for game developers to publish on the Epic Games Store, and we wanted to make this process as easy as possible. That's why we just launched our self-service publishing tools, and bringing your games to the Epic Games Store is now quick and straightforward. Ultimately, it's all about the games, and that's why we are focusing our efforts on bringing more titles to the Epic Games Store. I want to talk about our priorities in the past and coming years. 2022 was the year we focused heavily on the Epic Games Store publishing tools, and we also shipped a number of other features. A lot of work has been done under the hood, and like the switch from the reseller to agency model that is not visible to an average consumer, but significantly simplifies price and discount management for developers and for us too. One thing we shipped last year that I want to highlight is ratings and polls. It's our way of collecting user feedback about the games. It's randomized, anonymous, and inclusive. Players are randomly asked to answer simple questions about a game they just played. They don't need to write a review or to even speak English to have their opinions count. Not only the system is hard to review bomb, it's also proactive, so you get a more representative picture. I already mentioned IARC ratings, but I also want to highlight another child safety tool we launched recently. Free parent verification powered by Super Awesome. It makes GDPR and COPPA compliance, US and European laws respectively, easier. And we have a lot of things planned this year, from quality of life improvements to continued work on self-service tools for developers. Another thing I want to address is the launcher performance. We too noticed it deteriorating in the past year, and starting in February it became a #1 priority for our team. We have contracted an independent company to measure the launcher performance against one of our competitors, Steam, in 32 most popular PC configurations. They found our launcher to be significantly slower in both cold start and the opening from a system tray. Since then, we shipped an update already in early March that significantly improved load times, but there's still a lot of work to be done. And now please welcome Melissa Hill to talk about our publishing tools.
Hello, GDC. Good afternoon. My name is Melissa Hill, and I work on the Epic Games Store, leading a fierce force of partner managers, passionate, dedicated to stewarding partners through the Epic Games Store distribution process, empowering them to successfully announce, launch, and update their products on the store. Now, about 2 weeks ago, the Epic Games Store published a set of tools that were designed to enable partners to be able to self-serve in creating and onboarding and updating their products on the store. We're excited to deliver these tools that expand the reach of product distribution to every developer type. Now today, we're going to walk through how to move smoothly through the distribution process. So let's get started. First up, be sure to plan. Take a moment to think about how you want to set up your organization and the products you wish to onboard. Kicking off the onboarding process is super easy. You just have to answer a simple set of questions and boom, you've started. Once you create the organization, think about the additional people that will need access to the tools and invite them. It's really easy. You just specify their email address, assign the products that you want them to have access to, and the roles. And then you can create custom roles at that. So if you want Doug to be able to access product X and B, but not necessarily Z and Y, you can set it up that way. Or if you want Sharon to be able to have access to be uploading all the products, all the assets to products on the store, you can do that. And then maybe David is the only one on your organization that has access to the financial tools. It's all within your hands and you can customize it as such. The other piece you want to do is make sure that you update your notification settings so that you opt in to receive any alerts or communications about the updates to the tool. Then, another thing you'll want to do is to gather your identity information and your tax documentation and be ready to review the distribution agreements as well as complete the tax and financial interview. This is all important as part of the process of being able to set up your products. And the more that you are organized and have all those materials together, the smoother you'll be able to move through that and get on with setting your products up. The other piece to that is this is a good time to really firm up your product plan. Think about the type of product you want to release, which OS it's going to support. And once you've done that, the next thing you want to do is to communicate. It's super important. First thing, though, start amongst yourselves. Share what you know internally and align on how you want the product to show up, when to announce, to launch, and where. And then share that information with us by completing the product questionnaire. We understand plans change, but having this information helps us plan for your product submission's arrival and your release success expectations. And for those larger companies out there, please talk internally. Someone in the building knows. Someone knows what's going on, and the more that we're able to put these pieces together, the better everyone will be aligned and there won't be confusion through the distribution process. And while you're at it, be sure to use some of the available resources in the tool, like the product checklist or other dashboard features. It's all intended for you to be able to track your efforts, stay on top of your milestones, and keep up with the schedule. The other piece is take the time to avoid common pitfalls, like missing the requirements or not testing your product's functionality or stability. Like other platforms, we have a set of requirements and guidelines to follow for using assets and copy and obtaining appropriate ratings for the regions you plan to distribute in. We aim to ensure a family-safe environment when reviewing the store catalog, so we require images and copies to not exceed the equivalent of ESRB's teen rating. Review and learn the requirements in advance to avoid any surprises in the submission feedback that you receive. And then next, test your product. Prepare your build by testing it to make sure it downloads and installs as expected. And if you have any problems or run into any issues, be sure to reach out. Visit our Epic Developer Community Portal for a wide variety of resources from Epic or the community itself. Know that we're here to help, and while you're also there, another reminder to make sure you update those notification settings because it's going to keep you informed to know what's the latest features that are going to be released in our publishing tools roadmap. And now it's game time. Get ready to package your submission for review. Aim to deliver it early so you have enough time to make any changes that are addressed in some of the submission feedback without jeopardizing your release timing goals. Deliver quality submissions that are complete and compliant so you can obtain a swift approval. And once approved, you publish to live. Be sure to review the final product page though. Make sure to check for accuracy. We don't have stale dates or stale assets and information. You want to come out shining, but the power is in your hands to do that. And once you feel like everything's good, launch. Now keep in mind the length it takes to move through the distribution process largely depends on a team effort of aligning on the product release plan, communicating expectations, and delivering complete and compliant submissions. After launching the product, consider expanding it, adding new features. Follow the same keys to plan and communicate, test for launch readiness, deliver quality, and launch. Keep evolving your existing products and creating more. And remember, we're here to help. Now, next up, we have Rajan, who's going to tell you how to make your products awesome.
Thank you, Melissa. My name is Rajan. Hey, everyone. I help studios and publishers be successful on the Epic Game Store and Epic Online Services. And today, I want to talk to you about 3 things that you can do to help create a great player experience. So the first thing is to enable your players to play wherever and whoever they want. You may have heard about this before, but crossplay, that is an expectation that players have these days about multiplayer games. And it really involves a lot of different things, right? So you may have seen all these terms, cross-platform, cross-progression, cross-save. But what it boils down to is that players expect to be able to play your game on the platform of their choice, on the device that they choose, but they do not want to be limited in their friend pool. They want to be able to play with their friends on other devices, maybe other platforms, send invites to them, etc. So this is a task for developers to kind of solve that. We do have some tooling to make that easier, and I'll touch on that in a second. But because of this, and because we believe in this player need, and we do want to support it, we have a requirement on the Epic Game Store that if you have a multiplayer game that publishes on multiple PC storefronts, that we do require that that multiplayer functionality, it works cross-storefront. So what that means is that by default, we expect matchmaking to just go across these different stores, right? So anyone can be in the same matchmaking pool where it makes sense. And then if your game does offer game invite, friend invite functionality for direct partying and such functionality, that functionality has to work across storefronts as well. Now, like I said, it's not an easy task to do that, right? But we do have tooling available. So we have a product called Epic Online Services. If you're not familiar, I'll talk about that in a second. But that is one option to achieve this, but it is by no means necessary to use our products to achieve this, right? So if you have your own mechanism, your own systems, your own services, or third-party services that you already use to achieve this on other platforms that your game might be shipping on, feel free to use those. We don't dictate the tools. We just want to make sure that that player experience is something that they can get in our storefront. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is rewarding player time investment with Epic Game Store achievements. Last year, we launched Epic Game Store achievements in our store. What that means is that players can earn experience points across all the different games that they unlock achievements in, and that accrues to their total XP value that's associated with their account. So because of this mechanism, and we introduced it in the store, we see some good engagement with that platform. If your game supports achievements on another PC storefront, we do expect and require that you implement the same, substantially similar achievements on our platform as well. There may be some small differences here and there, but to keep that player experience consistent across storefronts, that is something that we do check for as well. In our achievements implementation, a base game can have a total of 1,000 XP associated with it. So every achievement can be between 5 or 200 XP in value. You can see some iconography there. There's some different tiering of achievements, bronze, silver, gold, that type of thing. But if you do need more than 1,000 XP for, let's say, downloadable content or seasonal content that you release for your game, you can reach out to us and we can discuss and we can kind of increase that limit as appropriate to make sure that we can support the achievements that you do want to support in your game. This achievement system is built on top of Epic Online Services. So you use Epic Online Services to implement the functionality in your game. And then you go into the developer portal and you configure XP values to have that show up in the store, and players can access that way. This is the achievement unlock animation. That audio was a little bit low, but that's kind of an example of some of the experience that you get with our tooling by default. So that will happen in your game as soon as you unlock achievements. So that's another fun kind of engagement that your players get. And then the last thing I want to talk about is we want to help you focus on your game's unique experiences and not necessarily spend a bunch of time building out backend services, building out functionality that aren't core to what makes your game unique. So like I mentioned a couple times, we have a product called Epic Online Services. It is a set of free services for anyone to use. Here you kind of see a little bit of a breakdown of what the services contain. But the two main things you have to kind of remember are, on the one side, we have what we call game services. These are universal services that you can use on any platform with any identity provider. There are no restrictions or any kind of requirements on how you implement these. And they go across things like multiplayer, moderation, operations, and progression. We'll take a look at individual services in a second. But if you do not have your own identity provider that you already use or a social ecosystem, you can use Epic Account Services as part of Epic Online Services, and that brings in the social ecosystem with Epic Games accounts into your game as well. So we have over half a billion accounts already in this system, and all the friends connections that exist between those accounts. So that's something that you can leverage to immediately bring that into your game and kind of get a head start with all the social features that we offer. It comes with an overlay that you can use to have players interact with one another, send invites, and kind of leverage that functionality. Now, there's a couple other areas here. I'm not going to touch into too much detail, but if you do interact with the Epic Games Store, there are a set of services that you can use within the SDK. For example, if you do anything with e-commerce, like validating ownership of certain items, etc., that's all part of the same SDK. And then we do offer kids web services, like Sergey mentioned before. That functionality is available for you as well to use for free. So that's also part of the Epic Online Services umbrella if you do need that functionality in your game. Now, like I said, here's a little bit more of a breakdown. I'm not going to go through each one of these individually, but just to give you a good picture of the type of functionality that we cover with Epic Online Services in each one of these buckets. And as you can see, they're all kind of individually listed because it is a a la carte system. So you pick which services or which combination of services makes sense for your game, and then you can use those. There's no dependency that we require on anything else. Like I said, you can use all the stuff on the left without having to implement anything with having to do with Epic Games accounts in your game. But obviously you can leverage all that, and then you get all this additional functionality as well. There's a couple of things in dotted lines here just to indicate there's obviously services that we're working on that we keep improving on. So this is an ever-evolving free offering that we do have for everyone to use. So in summary, enable crossplay for your players because it really is something that they expect. Add Epic Games Store achievements into your game where they make sense, and use Epic Online Services to keep your focus on your game's unique experiences. With that, I want to hand it off to John.
Thank you. Thanks, Rajan. Hi, everyone. My name is John Kopp. I'm the marketing director here at the Epic Games Store. And today we're going to talk about some best practices as you bring your product to the store, as well as some of the opportunities that we have for you to get your game in front of more players. Before I jump in, I want to give a little background. My team handles the promotions and sales on the store. We also handle channel activations and product marketing. So just a little bit of a kind of a broad swath of content. So I want to start by saying marketing starts with you, the developer. And what I mean by that is that a little bit of careful forethought and planning can yield dividends in the long run. The Epic Games Store is here to complement your strategy. So you should be thinking about what happens on store in tandem with what's happening off store. So if you're planning to put out your game, it'll show up in the new releases list. When your game is available for coming soon, it'll show up in the coming soon list as it approaches its release date. There are some certain areas in the store that are set up that way to allow for more visibility for your product. You want to try and align your platform announcements and your product page launches at the same time if you can. It's really just best practice to make sure that you're going across the board at all times to make sure you're maximizing your visibility, your buzz, and making sure that players can know where to find their game when it does launch. You want to sim ship your games across all stores for the best chance of success as well. It's not always possible, but it is a best practice again. You want to make sure that you're trying to get your game out there across the board to everybody available at the same time, maximize on your PR beats. Sometimes people come out with their game later, they run out of stories to talk about it, they run out of content, you're on limited budget, et cetera. So really sim shipping is super important if you can do it. We'll talk a little bit about product detail page best practices. I know Melissa mentioned earlier kind of like the overall setup, but from our perspective, you want to be informative and clear. Sometimes if you overcomplicate a PDP, you can kind of get lost and then you can kind of lose the news that you want to get across to the player. And you really want to try and make sure that it's clear. Next, quality assets. It's super important that you give players an idea of what your game looks like. We have this beautiful carousel right here in the top. You can have videos in there, you can have still images, it's your choice. Next is the coming soon part. This is super, super, super important. You want to get your coming soon page out as soon as possible. Basically, that's for two reasons. Number one, organic search results. As soon as that page goes up, we start building authority with the search engines. And that means that when people look for the product, they're going to be able to find it on our store. The next part is wish listing, which is an important part of our ecosystem. That allows players to opt in to communications about your product. And usually they'll get an update when there's a state change. When I say state change, I mean from coming soon to available for purchase. Or later post-launch, when you go on discount, they'll get a notification that something from their wish list is now on sale. And lastly, this one's going to seem obvious, but we see a lot of people don't do it. Link to your product page from your channels, your social channels, your product page, your product website. Make sure that people know where to buy your game and where they can find it in which stores. Put our logo up there. It's not required, but we sure do appreciate it. You say PC, most people are going to think Steam. We want to make sure that people know it's also available in the Epic Game Store or GOG or anywhere else that you're putting your game. Next, we'll talk a little bit about commercial best practices. So first of all, again, with that pre-thought and pre-planning before you come to the store, thinking about the offers. Here we have an example from Dead Island 2. They've put this beautiful graphic in their About section that kind of at a glance lets players know exactly what they're going to get from each edition. It's a really great way to kind of just preface it with players before they scroll down the page and they see the actual offerings of the different editions. Next, you want to think about release timing. So sometimes you think it's beneficial to launch during like a PAX or an E3 or a Gamescom, but there's a lot of noise in that window. Does that make sense? What's the competitive landscape look like? Are there other titles in your genre that are going to be launching at the same time? Are there big AAA titles that are going to come in and suck up all the air in the room and all the money out of people's wallets? So those are things to be thinking about and aware of. And then lastly, I want to talk about lifecycle planning. Lifecycle planning is everything from pre-launch to post-launch. You're going to think about your positioning and your target audiences and all that good stuff on the front end. Also think about your offers, like I mentioned, the different editions. Do you want to have an introductory price or something like that to incentivize people? After that, you're going to be thinking about discounting, and we're going to talk about some of the store promotions here in a minute. So you can participate in store promotions to drive sales and raise awareness for your games. We are currently working on a new discount pricing tool that'll be available to folks coming through the self-publishing tools. That'll basically allow you to control your pricing, and we will send out notifications for every one of our sales that we're running to give you an opportunity to opt in. Now we'll take a look at some of the promotions and events that we work on. First are our annual tentpole sales. Every year we have two main sales. We have our summer sale, which is basically Epic Mega Sale, and then we have the holiday sale in the wintertime. Both of those are focused on deep discounts on products. I'm proud to say that our team has gotten about 90% of our catalog involved in these major events historically, which is great if you think about the size and scale of that. We have free games and free content that we offer to players to bring them to the store, start having them browse around, look at the content. And then we have commercial incentives. You may have heard that we do coupons sometimes. Seasonal event sales, so we also have seasonal sales like spring sale, summer sale. We do a Halloween sale, for example. These have a branded destination, which will have all the content that's in the sale, top sellers, different genre collections, et cetera. Then we also have editorial event support, which comes in like the Game Awards here as an example, where we partner up with Jeff Keighley and we have all the nominees and the winners from previous years on discount. So again, another great opportunity there if you're involved in that program. Next, we're talking about publisher and franchise sales. So get some examples from 505 and from Games Workshop. The 505 is a publisher sale of all the games in their catalog, and then we have the Games Workshop one is actually a collection of different developers who all got together and put together this Skulls event. So we're able to support those as available on the store. Typically, we look at, do we have the merchandising space? Do we have the channel space to support it? If we do, then we're more than happy to do that. I want to be clear in saying that we're not stopping you from putting your products on sale. You have full control of the pricing of your product at all times. It's just that whether or not we can cycle it up on the storefront and provide that visibility. If we are able to support that, we just ask that you guys provide the assets, which is, again, examples here. Next, I want to talk a little about consumer events that we run in the store. You may have seen we have a summer showcase that we run as part of Summer Game Fest with Jeff Keighley again. That's a focus on video assets, big announcements, gameplay updates, dev diaries. We kind of run the gamut on that one. We just want to bring developers closer to the consumers, and that's really what this is all about. It comes with full store marketing support. We have, again, a branded destination. We have content on the storefront. We try to bring the videos into our video breakers. And this is a really big wish listing moment. We see hundreds of thousands of wish lists coming through these events. And so again, leading back to the importance of wish listing in the ecosystem and the messages that players get. All right, now key takeaways. If there's anything you remember from me when you leave this room, it's these 4 things. Number 1, you want to launch your coming soon page ASAP. Again, organic search and wish list. Sim ship across all stores if you can. It's going to make your life a lot easier, and it's going to drive critical buzz at the moment of launch. You want to link to your product on the store. Like I said, say generic PC, That's not a good enough message. You got to let people know exactly where they want to buy the product. And again, put our logo in there, selfless plug. Now, lastly, you want to remember that launch is only the beginning. There's a lot more that happens on the store after that. There's discounting, there's add-ons, there's additional plans. Again, think about that before you come to the store and know that you're just starting your journey with us when you launch your product.